Hi everyone, we're here today. We're going to do some pit beef on our Gateway drum smoker. We have in front of us here a whole chuck roll or chuck from a beef. We're going to end up splitting it up here because we're going to do some sliced roast beef with the other side of it. But these here usually come about 20 pounds in that area, a little less, a little more. This in here come in about 19 pounds. Typically, if you go to the butcher, you're not going to see this in the case. A lot of times the butcher's going to have it cut down into smaller roast or into some chuck steaks. But we ordered this in and got us a whole chuck here. So we're going to get started here with we're going to split this in about half. See some different muscle patterns through here. The chuck is actually, on this side of it would be what is your prime rib, and this is an extension. So the chuck will have some nice steaks. There's a few nice steaks in here as chuck steaks that you could get out of it if you wanted. You can also grind this piece of meat into Hamburg, makes good Hamburg. So you could take this and turn this into some chip steak also, stick it in the freezer, stiffen it up, and slice it real thin on a slicer. Makes really good chip steak. So this piece here we're just going to set off to the side. We're going to work on this piece for our pit beef today. So there isn't a lot of prep. There's a fair amount of fat, not quite as much as that's in a brisket. To it, but there is some fat marbled through it. And what we're going to do, pretty simple today, is we're going to use a little bit of duck fat as our binder for it. Then we're going to come back and do a real heavy seasoning of Blues Hogs Bold and Beefy on there. And we're going to put it on the drum smoker. We're going to run about 280, kick it up about 300. It's going to probably take it about roughly 5 hours, somewhere in that time frame, to get it broke down. We're smoking today with some cherry wood and a little bit of pecan that we already have in the drum. We're going to go ahead and start to get this all prepped up. So to get started here, we're going to just hit it with a little bit of binding here of the duck fat, so a little bit of extra flavor to it. Then we're going to come on and give it a good heavy coating. So this is a pretty big, thick piece of meat. So, I'm going on it pretty heavy because once we pull it apart, mix those flavors all together. We should be ready. So I'm not really gonna let that set much. We're gonna pretty much go from this point right onto the drum smoker at this time. We're running right now right about 280. right, so we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna let that on. It's gonna go a couple hours, probably around 3 hours, running about this temperature. We're gonna come back and check for our bark, see how it's setting up for us. And then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it here a little bit later on. A little bit, just a quick thing on the drums. Gateway drum smokers, all US made. Come in a matte finish, matte black, charcoal, and red. They also come in a high gloss finish. We have a charcoal and a red here, but they're pretty simple for the design with them. So you're gonna have a grate inside of your smoker. You're gonna have 3 pins in here, so you could do double grates, or you could drop one down, put a grate on the bottom if you wanted to do ham or something, and put a water tray or a turkey in there. But they're really designed to cook pretty hot and fast. Ideal temperature with them is usually in the 300 range to it. You can go low and slow if you want. If you want to back it down and run at 250, you can certainly do that. Inside you have a charcoal basket. Typically, what you're going to do is fill this up about 1/2 to 3/4. No need to fill it up the whole way. Put a starter in, let that get going. Dial your drum into about 300 or whatever temperature you want to cook at. You don't need a lot of wood if you're getting into the drum smokers. You don't need a lot of smoking wood. They will produce a lot of smoke, so we're just using 2-3 small chunks of wood at a time in these. And then in the bottom, you also have a deflector rack on the bottom. And you can see the 2 air vents so that you control your air on the front, and then on the top, letting it out. Everything's welded, so it's sealed, so you don't have to worry about air leaks coming in on the venting system or other places on the drum to it. So pretty fuel efficient. Typically, you know, we're cooking ribs in this in 2.5 to 3 hours. Briskets between 4.5 to 5 hours. Pork butts 5, maybe 6 hours with the drum smoker. So it does cook very fast. That dripping down into the fire gives you that flavor back into the food. So a little bit different than the typical low and slow type cooking with them. All right, so we're back, and we're gonna check this beef out here. Do some temperature check, but we're probably gonna be up in the 160 neighborhood or so. I did look at it a little while ago, and it's starting to get that crust on the outside, build a little bark to it. We're gonna take it and give it a good wrap of foil. I always use two layers of foil, but if I poke a hole, it helps protect it. Glove up here. Thermo pen, check the temp of it. Oh yeah, she's starting to set up nice. Right there, we're running 170 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and pull that, get it wrapped up. Wrap tight. There you go. We're gonna put that back in the drum, and we'll have come back out here and check in about 2 hours. Looking for this to get up to about 2 to 205. should be really broke down at that point that we can pull it apart. We're going to keep the drum running right at right about 300 degrees till we finish out in here. All right, so we're back. It's been a couple hours here. I'm going to go ahead and check this pit beef. These should be pretty close. We're looking for in that 200 range and being very tender. Nice and juicy. We're hitting right at 200, 201. Has a lot of the same feel going in as what you would do a brisket at. So what we're going to do is get some gloves on here. We're going to get it set it in the pan, and let that rest for a little while. And then we'll come back after that, and we'll get it pulled and heat up. One thing when you're doing with a drum, you see me put that lid on right away, is if you let your drum, the lid off of it, it's going to take off in temp. So you want to be prepped and ready to deal with your food, get the lid back on it, not let it open. So we're done with this, so we're going to close it up and let this rest. We'll come back after it rested here a while and pull that apart. All right, so we're back. We left this rest for about 20 minutes. Looking good. I'm gonna take good. So we're going to go ahead and cut this up here. Yeah, you can let it in the long strands, or you can take and you get your pals and do fine. So it's all chopped up. However you want to serve it. She's still hot. There's certainly taste the flavor from the bold and beefy. A little bit of smoke, not a lot of smoke. A little bit of smoke, but we're gonna go ahead and finish chopping this up and serving this for sandwiches.